Hello everyone. In this session, we will talk about the compulsory Indian language paper that is asked in UPSC main exams. As we must be aware that in the UPSC main examination, there are two important compulsory papers. One is the English language paper and the other is any Indian language paper. Now both these are qualifying papers because although the score that you obtain in these papers will not be added in your final result, but it is very important for a candidate to pass these papers with the minimum qualifying score, which happens to be 25%. Both these papers carry 300 marks each. And in order to get 25% scoring or qualifying marks in these papers, we need to obtain at least 75 marks out of these 300. With regards to the difficulty level of the paper, the Indian language paper is not as such a very difficult paper. The syllabus is easy and small. However, the main challenge is to express your ideas in your own language or your native language with fluency and with clarity. That is the main reason why a lot of students, in fact 10 to 15% students, are not able to qualify in these papers at all. Although the syllabus is very similar between both these papers, be it the English language paper or the Indian language paper. However, there are certain challenges which are exclusive to the Indian language paper. So let us discuss the scheme of the paper, the marks allotted to the paper, and what exactly is asked in this exam. As we just discussed, it is a qualifying paper, which means that you do not need to really go in deep about the syllabus of the paper. However, it is very important to be able to solve this within the given time frame. Therefore, improving your language and the command of your native language becomes very critical here. But another very important thing to remember here is that unless you qualify for the paper, your GS papers will not be evaluated, which means that we need to take this paper seriously despite it seemingly being easy or looking very, very small. Now, as we just also said that 300 marks have been allotted to the compulsory Indian language paper, which means that you need to get at least 75 out of this 300, which is 25% to pass the paper. The total time allotted is 3 hours, something similar to the English language compulsory paper. And generally here, the test is not your general knowledge or the test is not your common sense logical reasoning, but the test is how good you are at understanding your native Indian language and how well can you express your own ideas in this language. So basically, it is a test of your command of the Indian language that you choose to write the paper in. And in this slide, you can see the list of various Indian languages in which the paper can be taken. Languages have been cited here along with the script associated with the language. And this is just for the reference of the students so that they know that all these Indian languages are permitted. In these languages, the paper can be taken. Now, depending on whichever language you are comfortable in, depending on whichever is your mother tongue out of these languages, depending on the fact that whichever language you feel easy to express yourself in, you decide to pick up one of these languages for the exam. Now, once the language is decided, if you talk about the structure of the paper, that which type of questions or which all segments are asked in the paper, then please remember that these 300 marks of the paper are divided broadly into 6 segments or 6 areas. And each of these again carry 6 questions each. These broad segments are: one is essay. We all know what essay writing is all about. It is where a topic is given to you and then you need to reproduce your ideas associated with that topic. You need to express your ideas on the given topic in a very, very structured format, which is easy to read and understand. Then comes your reading comprehension. Now, essay has been given 100 marks here, which is the maximum marks out of this 300, which means the largest mark component has been given to the essay part. Next comes reading comprehension, and reading comprehension, as the name suggests, is all about the passage that is given to you, which you need to read, obviously understand and read, analyze the information, understand the main idea, and then proceed to answer the questions which are based on the passage. In this particular exam, the level of reading comprehension is rather simple. It is not a very difficult passage. However, routine practice is very important so that when you get the passage in your own native language, you are able to understand the difficult words and expressions that have been used. A total of 60 marks have been devoted to the reading comprehension or RC portion. Then comes your Prezi, and Prezi is considered one of the most difficult areas of the compulsory Indian language exam. Why? Because Prezi is not just a skill of reading and understanding, but it is also a skill of being able to reproduce the information that you have collected from the given piece of text. That's why it is the most difficult part, and maximum amount of time is generally associated to the Prezi. That is what is recommended to most students. 60 marks will be allocated to the Prezi writing segment. We will discuss more of Prezi in detail as we further proceed with the lecture. Next important segment here becomes translation from language to English. You will be given a passage or a paragraph in the native language, in the Indian language which you choose to write the paper in. You have to read that passage and understand, and then you have to translate it into English language. The intention is only to ensure that the student is actually comfortable and thoroughly familiar with the language which he or she has chosen, because unless you are able to express the same information in English language, it does not prove that you are still proficient in the language of your choice. A very similar question will be asked, which will be vice versa, just the opposite of the one we discussed right now. That will be a passage in English that will be given to you. You need to read and understand that passage and then translate it into the compulsory language that you have chosen. So both these questions will be given 20 marks. They are not difficult. Again, it boils down to how familiar and proficient you are in your language, how wide is your reading, because unless you read thoroughly in your own native language, you cannot be comfortable in writing that language at all. Last section is the grammar section, which carries 40 marks. Now, this is composed of a variety of questions. The questions can be based on sentence correction, in which a wrong sentence has been given to you. You need to rewrite it by correcting it. It can be a fill in the blank, where you need to fill the right preposition or article as per the options given to you. Next would be your passive and active voice. You could be given a question in which you need to rephrase a sentence that is given in active voice into passive voice or vice versa. Another would be synonym and antonym, where you have to identify the meaning and opposites of given word. Besides that, you can also be given a list of words or phrases on which you have to make sentences. Besides, some proverbs will be given to you. You have to explain the meanings of those proverbs. So a variety of mixed kind of questions are asked in the grammar portion, which are generally not very difficult. The only intention is to judge your basic grammar skills in your language of choice, and that is why 40 marks are given, because it is subdivided into at least 10 or 12 different kind of questions. So together this marking scheme becomes a heavy 300 marks. Now let's proceed with each and every segment and understand the details associated. If we talk about the preparation aspect, what does it take to prepare for this paper? How long is the process of preparation? And how seriously you need to take the preparation of your language compulsory paper? The very first thing here is that whenever we talk about essay writing and reading comprehension, the best strategy that we would recommend is wide reading. But not just any wide reading, sensible and smart reading. What do we mean by sensible and smart reading? We know that reading will help you not only in the compulsory paper, but also in your GS paper 1, GS paper 2, in the mains, also in your essay writing paper, because ultimately whatever you read will help you during your examination time. Because all that gets registered in your brain, which you ultimately need to reproduce when you are writing an essay or whenever you are trying to write answer to some subjective or long question. In that case, we strongly recommend that you read editorial pages from newspapers, because these are very, very thorough. They deal with a variety of topics. They not only provide you ideas, but they also improve your language tremendously. Besides, you can also invest time into reading magazines which deals with various issues. Again, very, very helpful. You can also read various other magazines, or you can also read newspaper, all the columns, all the pages of the newspaper which deal with the important news, and then all these together help you in assimilating ideas in a very, very smooth fashion. So these are very, very important for essay writing and comprehension part. Now, another reason why we strongly suggest you to read editorials from newspapers is because you will find a variety of new words in the process. You must find out the synonyms and antonyms of these words. That helps you in building up a strong vocabulary always. When you talk about the Prezi writing is again one area which comes with routine practice, because reading and understanding is a very different thing. But when you are supposed to rephrase something, when somebody asks you to reproduce the information that you have just read in your own language, that is the true acid test of your language skill. Here again, reading definitely helps, but a very, very strong suggestion that applies to improving your Prezi writing segment is that whenever you read an editorial from a newspaper, for example, if it is a 250 word or 350 word editorial, please try to summarize it into 100 words. Do this as routine practice. Then you see how quickly your Prezi writing improves. The main thing that you have to keep in mind is that finish reading the entire passage or entire editorial and only then rephrase the information in your mind. Do some brainstorming. What is the main idea from that passage? What is the core subject of the topic that you have just read? And then by including that core or the main idea, just try to reproduce the information in your own words. You are free to use your own words here. You do not need to copy words from the original passage or editorial, but make sure that the central idea remains the same. This is how you generally improve your Precis writing. And again, the practice of writing Precis by reading editorials not only helps in this exam, but it also helps you understanding the flow, the structure, and eventually it will help you in the GS mains other papers as well. Another thing is your grammar portion. Now, basic grammar can definitely be improved by referring to 10 standard books or 12 standard books of English grammar, but again, it is not an overnight process. To improve grammar, it is very, very crucial to improve vocabulary, to improve your sentence structure, sentence formation, and again, these things are very, very related to the reading. The wider you read, the better you become at this. Now, let's discuss each of these segments in further detail. Let's begin with the very first one, which is essay writing. We know a good essay is all about assimilation of ideas, but not in a haphazard fashion, in a very, very structured, in a very, very proper manner. How do we ensure we do this? One thing is definitely that we read as much as possible, because generally essay writing circulates around 4 topics. You are generally given to choose from 4 kinds of topics. One is on health. That could be anything. It could be something related to coronavirus. It could be anything related to malnutrition. It could be anything associated with food crisis that's going on in the developing countries. Anything related to the use of pesticides in agriculture. Why is it bad for human health? It could be about sanitation in the slum areas. It could be anything that is associated with human health. So we must read wide, because only then we get to gather ideas on subjects like these, which are adequately covered in your newspapers and magazines, provided you are a regular and thorough reader. Next important topic from where essay question comes is environment or ecology. Here again, anything can come. There are a lot of hot topics in the news. It could be the forest fires. Why are they happening so frequently? It could be global warming. It could also be that why do we think that interlinking of rivers is important? It could be about monsoon. It could be about greenhouse gas emissions. What steps are various countries taking to combat the problem? It could be about any agency of the UN, such as UNFCCC. It could be about the Paris Agreement. It could be about anything that is associated with environment, ecology, plants, animals, anything. So make sure that you read wide again. Another important topic would be sustainable development. How should we ensure that we are focusing on a kind of development where not only modern economic growth is happening, but at the same time environment is also balanced. At the same time, human health is not being compromised. At the same time, the more deprived and impoverished and poor communities are also being taken care of across the world, especially in developing countries. What have various international institutions, such as the various agencies of UN, been doing in this regard? So all these topics can be asked here. Apart from that, economy is also a very, very raging issue that can be asked in various forms. It could be about the slow economic growth in India. It could be about GST. It could be about the problems of developing economy. It could be about G20. It could be about G7. It could be about anything that is pertaining to economy. Now, there's another topic which is also very frequently asked, and that is women empowerment. Here again, a lot of gender issues can be addressed. You can be given a topic which asks you to discuss what schemes has the government undertaken to improve the status of women in Indian society, or various kind of schemes that the government has introduced for promoting girls' education. It could be about dowry. It could be about the problems associated with joint family which women have to suffer. It could be about the patriarchal structure of Indian society. Anything. But these are broadly the segments from which your essay topics are taken. So all these segments will be taken care of, provided you are a regular reader of the magazines that we mentioned, as well as your important newspapers such as Hindu, Indian Express, Economic Times, because all these ideas are thoroughly recurring in these newspapers every day. So make sure you read enough. Make sure you not just read, but also try to store the important information that you read. You could do it in your documents. You could just rewrite it in your own words. But anyhow, the more you read, the more ideas you get to write the essay. One more thing, please remember that essay is not about judging your detailed knowledge on any of these topics. But in this paper, the main intention of essay is to just make sure that you have the power, you have the linguistic power, you have the language power to express your ideas into words. This just shows how good you are at the language that you have chosen. That's the main intention. Obviously, the better ideas you produce, the better impression goes to the examiner. Now, the word limit here is 600, which means little bit here and there is allowed. You can write an essay which is 550 or 650 or 670 words. That is totally acceptable. But make sure you stick broadly to the word limit. And the time that is suggested here is 15 minutes, because it takes time. Firstly, you choose the right topic as per your comfort level. After that, you just think for a second, take a pause and brainstorm all the ideas. Make an outline to begin with, that what all you want to include in your essay. For example, if I pick up a topic which deals with global warming, then firstly I will make an outline that I will explain what exactly is global warming in the introduction. Then I will tell why is it becoming a major problem for the world today. Then after finishing my introduction part, I will move to the central part of the essay, which is my body of the essay. Here I can use as much data, as much statistics as possible. I can always write that what is the guideline given by United Nations to combat global warming, how to control greenhouse gas emissions, what are the main reasons behind increasing global warming, what steps have various countries taken to solve the problem. In future, what can be a better strategy to combat the problem of global warming, and what are the dangerous side effects if it is not controlled. After that, I will proceed to write my conclusion, in which again I will just suggest a couple of remedies to solve the problem, and I will end my essay on a more positive note, that how if collective action is taken, the problem can definitely be controlled. Or I may want to leave it on a warning note that if it is not controlled, so much disaster can take place tomorrow, and what are the threats which the world is currently facing because of increasing global warming and pollution and greenhouse gas emissions and so on. Plus, I can also write the recent news events such as forest fires, such as the melting of glaciers in Antarctic and Arctic regions. I can also write something about coastal flooding which is happening repeatedly. So all these things can be well included, but I will make sure that I finish my essay around 650 or 700 words, maybe 550 words if I'm not writing too much. But coherence is very important. Do not deviate too much from the topic. Always include important data and recent news into the topic. Also, always make sure that you use a simple, easy to understand, lucid language here. Don't use very difficult words. Don't use very difficult phrases. Write in a proper, structured manner. Sentence formation should be good. The words used should be very, very interesting, not necessarily difficult. Also, make sure your punctuation is all in place. Besides that, give a proper format or structure to the essay: introduction, body, and then conclusion. Next important topic that is included in this paper is reading comprehension. Now, we know that comprehension means understanding, to try to analyze or understand something. And reading comprehension is when you are reading something and trying to understand what is being told to you. In this, a passage is given to you, and generally it will be followed by 5 questions. Luckily, in this exam, the level of these questions will not be tough. They will generally be passage-based questions. And what are passage-based questions? These are the questions which are also called direct questions. Means they are taken straight from the passage. The answers of these questions can be located exactly in the lines of the passage. They are more of an eye test rather than a test of your knowledge or wisdom. So they are very easy to solve. Just make sure that you have read the passage once thoroughly from top to the end. Another important thing here is that maybe you can be given a question on central theme of the passage also, which means you can be given a question such as what is the central theme of this passage. In that, always make sure that learn to identify the main idea of the passage that you have read. For example, if I tell you that I have a red chair, and then if I tell you that my friends are also using the red chair, it is made up of velvet material, I purchased it from a mall, it cost me 3,000 rupees, it is very comfortable. In these few lines, I talked about something which is the red chair. But the main idea of what I said has to be the chair itself or the red chair. Everything else that I said, the price, the fabric, where I got it from, who uses it, how good it is, are all supporting ideas. They are minor details. Similarly, in your passage, one will be the main idea, and others will be the minor ideas or supporting ideas. Make sure you understand the difference between the two. This comes only by practice and repeated and regular reading and solving of the passages. Make sure you know what is the crux or the gist or the central idea of the passage. Generally, the question will be based from this only. Another very important thing in reading comprehension is that do not include anything from outside when you answer the questions here. Because reading comprehension is not a test of your GK, general knowledge, common sense. It is also not a test of your logic. It is only a test of how good you are at understanding something in the language of your choice. That's it. So only you have to stick to the information that is being mentioned in the passage. Answer the questions only directly from whatever has been said in the passage, nothing from outside. Then each question here will carry 12 marks, which roughly contributes to 60 marks total. Suggested time here is 35 minutes because it should not take longer than that. Passages are easy in nature, but please do not use any shortcuts. Read the passage once properly. Then easily you will be able to find all the answers. Try to identify the main theme in your mind. That's very important. If you get stuck on some difficult word, underline it and try to find its meaning from the line of the passage itself in case you do not already know it. Now, what all kind of topics are the passages in reading comprehension taken from? What are the themes of the passages? Again, the themes can be broadly 4 or 5 varieties. One can be political, that can talk about democracy, it can talk about some kind of a dictatorship government, or it can talk about some kind of a new political change, for example, the Afghanistan crisis that's just happening right now, or it can also be about some kind of civil war that is taking place in Sudan or Yemen, any such thing. Then comes philosophical, where you can be given a passage maybe written by Rousseau, or you can be given a thought of Plato, you can be given some kind of Gandhian philosophy, the idea of a famous thinker or a philosopher, the passage can be based on that. Then could be environmental, which is also a very hot topic, and a lot of passages come from here in UPSC. It can be about climate change, global warming, flooding, droughts, desertification, deforestation, anything. So all these topics are very important because they are covered here. Then comes international relations. Naturally, you can be given a topic such as what is the current strategy of China to dominate the other countries. You can also be given something on India-Russia relationship. It can be also about the problems that are happening in Central Asian region. It could be easily about US-India relations, anything, because it is always in the news. So one or the other recent topic can be covered in reading comprehension, but generally, and this exam, the difficulty level of passage is not very, very high. The passages are generally easier ones, so nothing to worry about there. Next is Pressy writing. Now this may be something to worry about because generally in the compulsory Indian language paper, Pressy writing is the toughest portion. But firstly, we need to understand what is Pressy. Pressy is about concising something. It is about shortening something. It is about doing this with precision. It's called Pressy. You have to summarize something, you have to shorten down something, you have to cut down something, but with a lot of precision and a lot of accuracy. Pressy writing is all about rephrasing. If you are told 10 lines, you have to reproduce that in just 3 or 4 lines. But the main challenge is that the original meaning should be intact. For example, I'll give you an easy example here. You go and you watch a very interesting Bollywood movie. You spend around 2.5 3 hours there. But when you come back home and you explain your friend what is the movie all about, all of us are very good at this, You see a 2.5 hour movie, but we can just summarize it in 10 minutes or maybe even 5 minutes. We can generally tell a friend or anyone who's asking us everything that the movie was about. We will tell the theme of the movie, how many songs were there, who was the lead actor, what's the main plot of the movie, what's the main climax that takes place over there. We are so good at this because the brain is very good at this, at rephrasing something, and that's exactly what you need to do here. Pressy, as such, is not a difficult task. It only comes by thorough practice, that's all. In Pressy writing, you will be given an essay. Generally, that will be 450 to 500 words paragraph. All you need to do is you need to read this thoroughly make sure. After that, you have to concise this, you have to summarize this, you have to shorten it, you have to rephrase it, rewrite it in your own language, in your own words, but only in about 150 to 175 words. That is very, very easily possible, provided you understand the main idea or the main theme of the passage that you have read. So, just like in reading comprehension, the main and the most challenging thing here is to understand the main idea, or the crux, the gist, the soul, the spirit, the juice, the main point of your given passage. Only then will you be able to rewrite it in your own words. Because for rewriting, you don't need any other special magic. All you need to do is to just reproduce the main idea in your own language. That's all that is needed. Then, whenever a Pressy has to be written, the exam will give you a sheet which is very, very structured. I will just show you in the next slide how it looks. It is not an ordinary sheet. It will be made up of several columns and boxes basically. Why is it given? Only to make your task easy. Because you have to maintain word count here. That's the main thing. You can't just deviate from the word count. For example, if you have to summarize a 500 word passage into maybe 150 or 170 words. So how do you keep a count of it? It is a big task because it is a time feast. That's why you have been given this kind of a boxed paper in which you can easily do your word count. You have the column, you have the row. As you write, you will keep a track of your words. It becomes easy. Here the main thing is kindly make sure you do not waste your boxes into prepositions and particles such as and, on. Use less of these because time is limited, space is limited. Just make sure that you are able to reproduce only the main idea in your own language, and that's it. That will fetch you good marks. Now, Pressy is basically shortening, as I just said, in your own words of a written piece of information or written text. You have to describe as accurately and as briefly as possible the substance or the main idea contained in the given text. Again, kindly do not try to copy sentences from the original passage. Don't do that. That is a spoiler. Don't do that. Don't copy. Another thing is, do not even try to imitate the same words. Don't copy the line. Don't copy the word as well. Try to avoid as much as possible. Do not copy line phrases or words from the original text. For example, if the passage is saying that it is the indifference shown by developed world that has led to so many environmental concerns globally, you can always rewrite it in your own words that developed countries have not been very responsible when it comes to problems of climate change. So here you are not repeating any sentence, but you are just trying to reproduce the main idea as accurately as possible. So make sure you do that. Suggested time here is 25 minutes because more than that generally it will not take because 500 passages is not a very long one. Therefore, 60 marks are associated to this, and within a span of half an hour you should be able to write decently a Pressy that can be scoring. Just make sure do not exceed the word limit. Always try to follow or chase the main theme of the given text. Always try to just reproduce it in your own words. Don't fall for extra ideas. Don't copy anything. Be as original and as simple in your explanation as possible. Generally, the Pressy topics are also similar. Either they are social problems, they could be about the problems of inequality in healthcare between rural and urban India. It could be about the problem which are being faced by women in the workplace. It could be about the school dropout levels which are very high among Indian girls. It could be about the problem of lack of adequate nutrition in rural areas for young children. It could also be about the imbalanced regional development in India, about dowry, about joint family problem, anything. All social problems can come here. It could be about environmental issues, once again about something similar to what is asked in your RCs and essays. Same kind of topics recur here as well. How to control global warming, climate change, forest fires, deforestation, the declining mangrove forests around the world, the problems of agriculture, and all these things can come. Apart from that, ethical topics can also be given, which means which have to do with some kind of moral issues, such as what could be the ethical norms of any particular society. It could be a passage given from philosophy. So all these kind of passages are asked in Pressy, but generally they are also easy passages. Here is a sample Pressy sheet. Now, since you can see this in front of you, there are rows and columns here. It becomes very easy during the exam to write the Pressy because whenever you finish writing one sentence, you will come to know that how many words you have finished. So broadly, you know wherever your 100 word limit is expiring. It gives you a lot of support when you are writing rather than writing on a plain sheet. So use this. It will be given in the exam, and whenever you practice at home for the exam, again try to do it on a sheet like this. Maybe not initially, but after you practice a couple of times, begin writing on the column paper itself in a paper like this because this will help you in exams a lot. Next question is about translation, as we said, from the prescribed Indian language to English. Here, the main trick that I want to share with you is do not translate line by line. That's a big no-no here. Line by line translation is called literal translation. Do not do that, please. You must have often seen in the Google Translator page in internet. If you write a sentence there in English, then just check out the Hindi translation of that or any other native language translation of that. Sometimes it is not even anything similar. They don't even look like they are translations of the same idea. Why? Because they do literal translation, and literal word by word translation is a big flop show. It will not help you. You need to make sure that whenever you are doing the translation question and you have been given a passage in your native language, in your chosen language, first finish reading that passage. Don't fall for the temptation of translating line by line. It will never work out. Every language is different in its format, structure, and its basic essence. Word by word, you can never translate in any language. That's why make sure finish reading the entire paragraph in your native language. Once you are done with this, again try to understand and brainstorm what was the main idea, what were the supporting ideas, what was this talking about. Then go for translating in the English language. Make sure you do not forget to include the main idea whenever you translate this into English. One thing that should not be lost is the main idea. Then whichever important supporting ideas are there, also try to include them. Order here is not important. You can definitely change the order, but make sure the essence of the passage remains the same. Broadly, the same meaning has to come out even after translation. That is what is tested here, and not your capacity to translate one word into another word between languages. That is not what is being questioned. What is being questioned here is that whether you understand the entire essence of your own language or not. That's why only translate the main idea. That too after finishing your reading of the native language paragraph completely. Make sure you do that. That's very, very important here. Phrases and words need not be translated. Only if you're comfortable you do that. Unless you want to do it, make sure main idea you are reproducing. That will give you good marks anyway. Something similar goes for translating from English to prescribed language again. Here you will read the paragraph that is given to you in English first. Read it thoroughly. Read it completely from top to bottom. Once you are convinced with the main idea, what is the passage talking about? Once you are convinced with the information that is provided here, you have understood it. Only then proceed to translate this into the native language. But make sure main idea is not lost in between. The main idea or the crux of the passage has to be transported from English to the local language. Again, if you feel comfortable in translating phrases and difficult words, do it. If you don't, just skip that. Make sure main idea is coming properly. Another very important thing is sometimes even if you do not understand some difficult words or phrases that have been given in the English passage, do not waste much time on it. Just try to broadly understand what is passage talking about. The more closer you are to the original passage, the better marks you will get. So therefore, it is about understanding the entire passage and not just the lines that you choose from here and there. So again, this comes by practice. Generally, the main problem students have in these translation questions is because they are completely out of touch with their own language. Why? Because generally we read newspapers, magazines, we see TV and movies in English. We do not really give time enough to our vernacular newspapers and magazines, or we do not really listen to the news in our own vernacular language as a habit. So make sure you inculcate those habits. Make sure you are following one vernacular or local language newspaper. Make sure you read editorial pages from there. Not just that. Read it, try to understand it, and then try to rephrase it in your own mind in the English language. Something similar you can do for the local language to English translation too. Whenever you read your English newspapers, try to brainstorm or try to rephrase or re-encapsulate the same ideas that you have read from your Hindu editorial into your own language. Generally, we often do that also. All of us have this habit whenever we read English language. Somewhere we are trying to also, you can say, translate it subconsciously in our own language because that helps us understand better. Because our vernacular languages provide us the roots of knowledge. We are so comfortable with our local language that same level of comfort does not necessarily come in English. So that's why mentally always translate in your own language whenever you read something in English, and whenever you follow your vernacular text, try to, in your own mind, even if you don't have the time to write, try to rephrase it in English language every time you read them. That's how the command will slowly improve, and before the exam you will get in touch with these kind of translation procedures, which again is not difficult, but definitely you need to invest time in practice. Next comes the grammar section. In this section also, questions are pretty similar to the English language compulsory paper. The only difference is these will be in your own language. What you need to really do is that understand that this segment is divided into 4 subsections or 4 minute sections, and the total marks allotted to the section is 40 here. Therefore, you should try not to invest more than 15 to 20 minutes for this particular segment. Questions can be synonyms. You can be given a word in your native language. You have to express or tell a synonym of that word from the given list of words. Synonym only means meaning, so basically you have to find out word meaning. Or you can also be given opposite, which means antonym. In this case, you have to select the word which is opposite to the word that has been given to you. Then word translation can come. Apart from that, other basic grammar questions can come, such as one sentence can be given to you which has a lot of errors in it. You have to rewrite that sentence by identifying the errors in it. Sometimes the question paper asks you only to find out where is the error in the sentence. That's all. But sometimes you have to correct that error and rewrite the corrected sentence in the space given to you. Fill in the blanks are also often asked, which deal with things like prepositions and articles. You can be given fill in the blanks options will be given to you. You need to pick up the right choice and fill them up. Another important question that comes here is making sentences. 5 words may be given to you. You need to make simple sentences in your own words, in your own language by using these words. Here the main tip is do not try to transform that word. If the word is given in a noun form, then you have to make sentence with the same form. You cannot just change it into adjective form or verb form and use it the way you like. Don't do that. Just use the same word in the same form and then make a sentence on it. Another important thing is whenever you are making sentence from a given word, make sure that the sentence is trying to express the meaning of that word at the same time. Do not make just a blind sentence which is not conveying the meaning of the given word. A sentence should be such that the real meaning of the given word should come out of it. Then you can be given 5 different proverbs. You have to tell the meaning of those proverbs. Sometimes even make sentences with those proverbs. Again, that's an easy thing. If you are a regular reader of vernacular language, you work in your language, a lot of proverbs you use in your daily conversation also. So this should not be difficult at all. Another thing here is that you can be given a question in which a sentence is given in active voice. You need to change it in passive voice. You have to do that also in your own language, which again comes by practice, which is nothing new. Then you can also be given sometimes question and match the following format. You may be given some proverbs, and on the other column meanings will be given. You just have to match the proverbs to their right meaning. So all of these are the kind of grammar questions that are asked in the paper. Then if you talk about time management, then essay, which is a very important and scoring segment because it carries maximum marks, 100 marks out of 300 means 1/3 marks belong to essay. So essay has to be very well attempted. Again, don't worry, this essay of a compulsory paper is not to judge your knowledge of the topic that you have chosen. It is to judge how good you are in understanding and writing in your native language. So therefore, whatever topic you choose, make sure you are comfortable in. You have a couple of ideas on that topic. Take a pause, brainstorm, make an outline in your mind. Always write a structured essay. It has to be divided into 3 parts: introduction, where you introduce the topic, give the meaning of the topic, then body, where you discuss various things associated with the topic, the good and the bad things both. Be neutral in your approach as much as possible. Then provide a proper conclusion by summarizing whatever your idea is on the given topic. You can use proverbs, you can use quotations by famous people, you can use data as much as possible wherever you need to. Try to summarize and finish the essay in 15 minutes because more than that will not spare you time for other important segments, especially Prezi because Prezi is very time consuming sometimes for many students because of lack of practice. So make sure you don't give 15 minutes to the essay. Try to think in the first 5-10 minutes, then make an outline, and the remaining time, at least 30 minutes, give to writing the essay finally. Just once revise it once you are done. Another important thing now is reading comprehension. For reading comprehension, 60 marks are allotted. Make sure you give 35 minutes to this because give at least 10 to 12 minutes in just reading and understanding the passage. Do not do a fast and quick reading, that never helps. Do not do skim reading. Make sure you read the passage properly from the first word to the last word once thoroughly at least. If you are stuck somewhere, read it twice, that particular part, but not more than that. Read it thoroughly and then proceed with attempting the questions. Generally, passage based and theme based questions are asked. Attempt these questions. If you get stuck, you can always keep referring to the passage as and when needed. Another important thing is Prezi writing. Now this is the most time consuming and difficult task because most students do not regularly practice summarizing or rephrasing. That's why I strongly recommend that give at least 25 minutes to half an hour to Prezi writing. We have already discussed what this is all about. Making sure that you retain the main idea by writing the Prezi, making sure that you keep reading newspapers and magazines and try to summarize or rephrase whatever you have read in your own language in as short form as possible by maintaining the main idea intact. Practice on the column or the box paper that will help you in the exam tremendously. A good 60 marks belong to Prezi after all. Next comes translation. Again, keep reading vernacular local newspapers repeatedly, regularly every day. Whenever you read, try to convert the same information in your mind in English language. Whenever you read English language newspaper, follow editorial pages, read magazines. When you finish reading an article, try to think whatever you have read in your own language. These tips will help you in the exam. Try that in each of these questions 15 to 20, maximum 25 minutes are given, definitely not more than that. They carry 20 marks each. Grammar we just discussed. A variety of mixed kind of questions will be given to you, but they will be easy in nature, only to test your basic command of the language that you have chosen here. So therefore, keep reading your vernacular newspapers. Wherever you find difficult words, make sure you get a dictionary of your own language or find them in the internet to find synonyms for those words. Try to understand proverbs in your own vernacular language. Use them in your daily conversation. Talk to family and friends in that language. Soon command improves tremendously. Therefore, 40 marks are given to the grammar portion. Ideally, it doesn't take more than 11 or 10 minutes. But since vernacular language is something that you don't really practice every day, maybe it takes you around 20 minutes, but try not more than that. All in all, this should be the total time allotted to the compulsory English language paper. With this, we come to